This is the World of Racing on the Motor Racing Network.
Thank you very much, Susie, and we'll check back within to her coming up a little bit tomorrow. And Susie does a outstanding job in talking about NASCAR racing. One of the few female NASCAR announcers that are out there, and she's been doing this now, I think, for about 3 years for MRN, and really doing an outstanding job. Yeah, it would be 3 years because I can remember having her on up with my Erie station that I used to own, and Erie, Pennsylvania, that is. And she's been doing it ever since. She took the place of forget his name. But anyway, Ned Jarrett had started the program years ago and stepped aside here several years back, maybe close to 10 years. And just because of the health and age and just kind of cutting back a little bit, but he's still involved in racing, Ned Jarrett. Very nice, humble man. And his son Dale is just like his father. You couldn't ask for a nicer guy to talk to. I've had the pleasure of talking and interviewing numerous NASCAR drivers, Mark Martin being my latest, most recent one, which has been my driver that I've rooted for because he's from Batesville, Arkansas, which was about 45 miles northeast of my hometown of Conway, Arkansas. And never got to meet him. I've seen him on numerous occasions, but, from a distance. And it was great doing that here several months ago over at Car Express. They're just off Shallowford Road. And, I've been able to interview Kyle Petty, Jimmy Spencer. Jimmy used to drive the Winston No Bull car. And Jimmy's quite colorful, to say the least. And then he's got his bodyguard, which is his sister. And I'm telling you what, I don't care who you are. If you ain't got a good reason to be next to Jimmy Spencer or to talk to him for a real good reason, his big sister is there and she will escort you away and won't think twice about it. Now, Jimmy, still doing his thing with the family business up in Berwick, Pennsylvania. His dad, Ed, great guy, used to be one of my advertisers for a couple of radio stations that I used to manage up in Northeast PA a number of years ago. And he is in the auto salvage business and does quite well. He is probably one of the biggest auto salvage dealers in, I would say, at least Pennsylvania. And he owns both sides of US 11. And ironically, and I had this conversation with Russell Strouder, news director, earlier today. There's two things about this area with a couple of roads. US 11, which is also known as the Lee Highway, goes forever. But once you get to Maryland and the Pennsylvania line, that's the Mason-Dixon line, it's not known as the Lee Highway anymore. It's just Route 11. Ironically. But I tell you what, when I go up to Pennsylvania to visit my kids and other relatives, we always see the exit signs for the Lee Highway until you get to Pennsylvania, because that's where the Union and Confederacy line stops, the Mason-Dixon line. So it's like, all right, that takes me up to there. Then back home over in Arkansas, US 64. Runs right through my hometown of Conway. So it's like where I used to live in Pennsylvania and where I'm at originally from in Arkansas, got two major highways, U.S. highways that go through those communities. And it's just kind of a neat tidbit, at least on my part. You may not find it interesting at all, but with me, that's the way it is. But anyway, what was this saying? I really don't know. Hey, welcome to live radio. How about it? But anyway, it's just talking about NASCAR drivers. And Jimmy Spencer is just a great guy, and his whole family is really. And Kyle Petty, well, I seen him in a lesser desired state at that time, and really kind of raised your eyebrows a little bit. It's like, this guy's a NASCAR driver? Okay. But, you know, and that's just some of them. Ray Evernham, got to interview him on TV when we were doing races live on TV up in Central PA, and very genuine and everything. And, you know, we'll give you the time of day. He, no question, stupid in his regard. And, you know, his daughter, she's in the broadcasting business as well with, I believe it's with Fox. I'm not positive, but I know she's in there somewhere, following in the footsteps of father and doing very well. We've got more of the Locker Room Show with yours truly, Sam Jordan. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back with more after the break here on New Radio 92.7 FM.
Traffic, news, and information. Nuga Radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD4 and 92.7 FM. 3, 2, 1. Chatham, Nuga Radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD4, 92.7 FM's news now.
A car crashed in Cohutta last night and a man from Cleveland runs out, according to local police. Reports say he was found hiding in a building in Tunnel Hill after he crashed his car on Old Dalton Highway. Inside the crashed vehicle, officers say they found drug paraphernalia. Brandon Lee Wright taken into custody. Good news out of Ray County. Dolores Harshbarger, the woman who went missing over the weekend, is found safe. Reports say she is with her family at her original destination in Ohio after suffering some car trouble along the way. And a grand opening date has been announced for Miller Park downtown. The park is in the last stages of construction as part of a multi-million-dollar renovation and cleanup. The grand opening slated for 11 a.m. September the 14th. The project, part of a public-private endeavor between the city and multiple corporate sponsors, including EPB and Blue Cross Blue Shield. Val St. John for Nuga Radio, News Talk 92.7. Action News now.
David Toulis. I made the move 1 o'clock every weekday afternoon, 1 till 3, Nuga Radio.
92.7 Chattanooga weather. Cloudy and mild weather continues through your nighttime. Still a few leftover showers around. Lows 68 to 70. For Thursday, lots of clouds and heavier rain off to our east. Still some showers around, though. Highs of around 80, back into the lower 80s on Friday. Looking to buy or sell a home? Real Living Southern Realty provides real answers and customized marketing solutions. Serving the entire tri-state area, check out rlsouthernrealty.com for more. And I'm Soar Team 12 Chief Meteorologist Pat Report. Nuga Radio 92.7.
I got my business up and running and it's already expanding. I got lucky. Lucky because I found Signal Voice and Data. Signal Voice and Data can incorporate all of my business information sharing and communications seamlessly, keep my costs down, and let me work more productively with endless connectivity no matter where I might be. That's called working smart, not hard. Go to signalvoicetn.com and bring the future of communication to your business today. signalvoicetn.com.
I live, work, and play in Chattanooga, the scenic city. But when it comes to my next car, truck, or SUV, I'm Alabama bound. Fort Payne, Alabama, and Landers McClarty Ford. Big city selection of new and pre-owned vehicles with the small town price and friendly service. Now, I'm not knocking my hometown, but when it comes to my next ride, I only go to Landers McClarty Ford of Fort Payne. Their selection is huge. Then if I can't find what I want, they'll find it for me with the same low price, same great service, and only a short drive away. And I can go online to look around before I leave the house. Got that next dream ride in your head yet? Yeah, you do. Get a head start at Landers McClarty Ford of FortPayne.com. Don't just dream it, find it at Landers McClarty Ford of FortPayne.com. That's right, Landers McClarty Ford of Fort Payne, Alabama.
Nuga Radio.
Roar into Talladega.
Hello? Who am I speaking with? Eric. You're our winner. Really?
You'll receive tickets for all 3 races between the Camping World Truck Series, Xfinity Series, and the Monster Energy Cup races.
Holy cow.
In addition, you'll receive a 2-night stay at the Microtel Hotel and restaurant accommodations at 2 area restaurants.
Nuga Radio.
Roar into Talladega.
Nuga Radio.
92.7.
Your NASCAR racing station. Nuga Radio 92.7 FM.
Nuga Radio 92.7.
Do you hear that? That, my friend, is not what you're thinking. That is the new 2018 Indian Chieftain Dark Horse. Yeah, Indian. Indian motorcycle is more than a bike. It's an experience, an American icon. And Indian Motorcycle of Chattanooga is the only place you'll find their new 2018 line. Are you ready to ride? Join the club. Go to Indian Motorcycle of Chattanooga. Just look for the sign, 153 and Amnicola. Indian Motorcycle, the true American original.
Call 423-875-3600 if you're looking to expand your professional look of your business. Then consider the vast opportunities that are available when you locate your office with the Rains Group family. Remember, it's location, location, location. And the Rains Group has the location for your professional office. Check out the spaces for lease at Executive Business Park on the Lee Highway. Small or large, we will build to suit your needs with the Rains Group. Call 423-875-3600 or the business professionals with the Rains Group.
Chattanooga Paint and Decorating would like to remind you it's so hot out there. And guess what? Your deck is taking a beating. It's probably starting to show wear. If you're hosting friends, get your deck entertainment ready with a fresh coat of stain and protect it from heat, sun, and rain with a quality sealant. If you want to get to work, Chattanooga Paint and Decorating want to help you. For exterior paint, stains, sealants, and supplies, stop by Chattanooga Paint and Decorating today on Hicks and Pike across from Valvoline or online at ChattanoogaPaint.com.
Nuga Radio.
Are you brain dead? Still voting for pathetic liberals? Take 3 hours of Sean Hannity from 3 to 6.
Nuga Radio.
Then call us in the morning between 9 and 11.
92.7.
Nuga Radio. It's the moment you've been waiting for. Sam Jordan's Nuga Radio 92.7 Sports now.
Wednesday night, August 1st, 2018. Day, and it may be miserable in a lot of other senses, but it's quit raining at least. I feel like I moved to Seattle, Washington sometimes. I mean, there was 1 week here a couple weeks ago, it just kept raining and raining and raining and just would not quit. I thought the ark was going to have to be rebuilt to save us, but you know, hopefully it doesn't get too muggy after all this rain. I've got on the phones my good friend and also the host of the Breakfast Blitz on Saturday mornings, Mr. Nick LaFew. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Sam. How are you doing?
Not too bad. Now, I'm going to start off talking about Chattanooga getting a pro soccer team and the United Soccer League. Now, we've already had the Chattanooga FC that's been amateur for the last 10 years. And this is going to be above and beyond that. It's going to be a second team in Chattanooga with soccer. My question to you, and you've been an executive with the Chattanooga Eagles as their GM for the last couple of years, and you're one of the owners of the team. Do you think that soccer can support two teams, whether they're an amateur team or amateur and pro or just pro?
Well, if you go back to 2009 when CFC started, you know, I didn't know if soccer could succeed at all in this town. Clearly, that's been proven wrong.
Right.
You know, soccer's boomed. CFC's done a great job. They run that organization so well. And, you know, it's pretty amazing what they're able to do. Now, that being said, in a town like this, that's not the largest and not that huge of a market, when you're bringing in a professional and then adding and already having a professional and then already having a semi-professional and then adding a professional team, it's going to be hard to support. I'm sure, you know, the town will get behind it and they'll go to games, but if they play around the same time of year, I think that's going to be tough.
Well, the one thing in the release that the prime principal of this organization, Bob Martino, who's a businessman from the Hickson area, basically said that this is going to provide a longer schedule of soccer action for, the fans here in Chattanooga. So with having the CFC that's been here for 10 years and the pro team coming into it, I mean, yeah, it's on a different scale than what the new Nashville pro soccer team is, because they're a part of MSL or MLS rather. Can that, because of Nashville, starting a pro team this upcoming season and Chattanooga doing this, I mean, aside from the fact from the CFC, do you feel like that the proximity of 2 hours away from each other, that fans are going to just have too much or be oversaturated?
I think it can. MLS is growing and starting to bring in some of the bigger guys. Yeah, they're older. It started with Orlando City when they became an MLS team down in Orlando. They bring in Ricardo Kaká, and then now, Zlatan Ibrahimovic is over in LA, and I believe Wayne Rooney is joining a club as well. Obviously, these guys are in the ends of their careers, but they're still superstars. I mean, Zlatan Ibrahimovic had a hat trick last week, and so, I think if Nashville is able to bring some star power, they already have a big support group up there. We know how well Nashville supports their pro teams. I mean, Nashville supports the Titans, and God, what they've been able to do with the Nashville Predators when nobody thought hockey would succeed in the South, and it's boomed. And so, I think Nashville is going to be fine. I think the problem with USL, and I watched when I lived in Orlando, I watched USL soccer when Orlando City was USL before they moved to MLS. USL is just one step below. So,
right.
You're going to have a lot higher level talent on a USL roster than you would on these semi-pro rosters. So I think people, if they love soccer, they're going to want to go to those USL games for sure, because it's pretty intense. A lot of those guys, at least in Orlando, from the experience I had, that the guys that were on the USL team were still on the MLS team when they took over and moved up to MLS. So, it's definitely going to be interesting to see. I think USL soccer is really good soccer, and so people in Chattanooga, if you love soccer, you're gonna love to be able to see the type of talent that's going to come into town.
One of the things that I think is going to be interesting, well, there's a couple things. Having the fan support like the Chattahooligans have been able to do with the CFC. And then the other thing is whether or not they will be able to have coexisting schedules if they are looking at planning on using Finley Stadium. Finley Stadium, I mean, doesn't get utilized as much as it could. UTC and the CFC are the two primary tenants that take care of events that go on at Finley. But do you think that it could work? And then my other question to you, Nick, because you've been on this side of the line before as far as a sports executive, is you've got the Chattanooga Lookouts, you've got the CFC, you've got the Chattanooga Eagles, you've got other area semi-pro football teams like the Tennessee Cobras that are over in East Ridge, and there's probably several others that are in the immediate area that we don't necessarily hear a whole lot about. And then also you got the CFC women that have been doing very good here, especially this last season. Can Chattanooga support having all of these different teams and the businesses that are needed to support sports marketing? Do you think that could fly?
Yeah, I think that'll be fine. I think the thing is with soccer especially, when you develop a fan base, that fan base is loyal to your squad. I didn't really have a soccer team until I lived in Orlando. And yeah, there's this Nashville team coming and everything. I'm still an Orlando City fan. Obviously, I don't get to go to those games anymore, not living there. But it's going to be hard to pull those fans that have been like for instance, the Chattahooligans, those fan groups and pull them into another franchise in the same city. That's tough. That's where it's tough. You're not Chattanooga's not a market like New York or LA where you can support two teams with all the people,
right?
Because you're going to have fans of both. That's going to be the tough part. And then obviously sharing facilities. If their schedules overlap at all, I don't know what you're going to do.
Right.
There's not facilities in this town
because
to play high level sports.
I know when I've been involved with the football teams up in Erie, PA, and then especially when I was a part of an ownership group of another semi-pro team there in Western Pennsylvania last season, you know, trying to coordinate schedules. You know, the league will tell you, all right, these are the dates that you have to work with, and then you got to make sure that you got facilities to play at. And hopefully nobody else is renting Finley Stadium on that date, or you're having to find another facility to go and play. And it's like, you know, that could cut into, you know, potential revenue, because if you're having to play some games at Finley, some games at another stadium, whether it's a high school stadium or what, that's going to confuse fans.
Well, and I know right now, I'm going to tell you right now, the USL is not going to allow them to play at a high school stadium.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not going to happen. When Orlando City was USL, they were playing at the Citrus Bowl.
Oh, wow. That's a lot of seats.
60,000 seat stadium.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's nothing like that in Chattanooga.
Right.
And, you know, now Orlando City, they have their own facility that seats about 30,000, which is more like it for soccer. Although I will say this, the first 2 years when they were MLS and they played the Citrus Bowl, they were selling that thing out. And,
oh, wow.
Now they're at 30,000. So I'll tell you right now, the USL is not going to allow this Chattanooga team to go into like high schools and play. So, you know, you'll see. I think CFC will be the one that might have to take a little bit of a hit, but I don't see that being an issue. I think those seasons aren't going to overlap too much, right. And the leagues will work together, I would assume, to be able to fit the schedule and make it where they don't have home games on the same nights.
Right. It will be interesting, to say the least. Now, I've said this to you and Keon both. I would really love to see either an NA3HL or an NAHL or a USHL hockey team in Chattanooga.
Yeah,
am I off my rocker?
Hockey's proven that it can succeed in the South.
Am I off my rocker thinking that?
No, I don't think so. I mean, it works in Knoxville,
right.
Which isn't much bigger than Chattanooga. You know, the Ice Bears in the Southern Professional Hockey League are very successful. You know, I worked for them for a little bit while I was in college, and very successful program. And, you know, I think it can be successful here. Again, I think you run into the issue with facilities, because Chattanooga's not wealthy in facilities for sports. I mean, I guess you could probably play maybe a little bit in, you know, McKenzie, but you're talking about them playing at the same time as basketball.
Right.
So
I mean, and I've seen that done. I've seen that done in Erie, because Erie had the Orlando franchise in the NBA D League, and you know, they tried to make sure. I don't know how they did, but the NBA and the hockey league, that Erie hockey team. And I can't even think of their names offhand. But anyway, they coexisted where, you know, they weren't pulling the ice up all the time. Or what they would do is they would put like an insulation between the ice, and then they would build the basketball floor on top of the ice and remove the glass and the bench areas and stuff, to where, you know, they wouldn't have to have that much of a teardown, because trying to lay ice is not something that just happens in a couple hours. I mean, we're talking days.
I mean, that ice isn't thick. I mean, you're only talking about 2 inches thick of ice, but it doesn't change the fact that, to me, I think the biggest problem is that that's UTC's facility.
Right.
So UTC is going to hold dibs over it, and as well they should. I mean, it's their facility. But, I mean, things like that could be supported in this town. I think, though, you have to understand, too, this town's not the biggest sports town in the state at all.
Right.
You know, a lot of people here are very outdoorsy, more than they are specific to just sports. I mean, I know people love football in this area, and they love baseball.
Yeah.
But those other sports might be a little tougher to get, especially hockey. And if they're going to be playing at the same time as the Predators, there's a big Predators fan base down here, and I think people a lot of times would just rather go up to Nashville, make a trip, and go watch the Preds play.
I've actually got to have dinner with the owner of the Nashville Predators. Well, I should say the president and CEO, Sean Henry. And Sean came from Chicago when the franchise was moved from Minnesota to Nashville. Oh, a long time ago.
98.
Yeah, 98. Yeah. Thank you. And, he, in the discussion that we had, he thought that hockey could work in Chattanooga, but you got to have a good fan base of support that would get behind it, whether it be a semi-pro team or, on the amateur level, like the NAHL or the NA3HL or USHL. Yeah. But he was telling me there's quite a bit of Predator fans that are season ticket holders that come from here in the Chattanooga area in Tennessee Valley that come to Nashville, for home games every week.
Yeah, I believe that. Like I said, I don't know that there's a better, and ESPN ranked them as the number one franchise in professional sports. And a lot of that had to do with the fan base.
Yeah.
Even when the Predators were bad, you were still filling up that arena. And now they have the product to match it. You're talking about a team that's probably going to, going to be favored by a lot of people to win the Western Conference again, for the second time in 3 years and have a chance to win the Cup again.
Yeah.
If it's possible, they've gotten better again. So, people are going to love that. And, hockey continues to grow in the Mid-South because of what the Predators are able to do.
All right, let's switch gears. I know that without mentioning the H word, right now you have got the M word that is on the tip of your tongue that you're a little perturbed about. Can you give us a little insight about that and what we can expect on Saturday morning from 8 to 10?
Yeah, I think right now, I think college football had a very quiet off season, and until today, and last week I think it started to come to a head a little bit. Urban Meyer in some deep trouble, in Ohio State, covering up what appears to have covered up multiple domestic violence situations between an assistant that he had at Florida and at Ohio State, and Zach Smith, who has beaten allegedly, but there are pictures of the bruises and everything on Courtney Smith, his wife, and that he's beaten his wife multiple times, and that multiple people close to Urban Meyer, including his wife, knew about it, which makes me think Urban Meyer knew about it.
Right.
And I'd be interested to see if Urban Meyer has some chest pains like he did in Gainesville about 10 years ago. So, I don't know, man. I've never liked Urban Meyer. I stick by my statement that I said Saturday when Keon and I were talking about it. Urban Meyer, I always thought has been, and I always think he will be, a piece of scum. I think all he cares about is winning. And sometimes you just got to wonder, how good is Zach Smith, and is he worth keeping on the staff to be a wide receivers coach if he's beating his wife? You hold these kids to a high standard.
Yeah, and that's true.
Treating women the right way, and then your own staff can't even do it. When you're put on administrative leave, like he's been today, that usually means they're working out a way to fire you with cause.
Right. Since the Penn State debacle that happened a number of years ago, and I've said this before, I've been in the home of Joe and Sue Paterno. I've been in the home of Jerry and Dottie Sandusky numerous times, and never really thought, anything that they would have done like that, especially with Jerry, with the child sexual abuse. He's serving 60 years in jail. And you hate to see any kind of violence toward another person happen. But ever since we had that issue at Penn State here several years ago, I think the NCAA and the press in particular are really going to push everything to its limit. Far as making sure, you cannot brush it under the rug at all.
You can't. And there's very few things in life that makes me as angry as when a man hits a woman.
Right.
And the fact that this happened multiple times in 2009 and 2015 with this guy, and he still has a job on Urban Meyer's staff, it's unacceptable. And Urban Meyer has to be held accountable.
Right.
And again, Urban Meyer to me always has thought it and always will. I don't think he's a good person. I don't know him on a personal level, but I don't. And I think it's obvious in things like this that he doesn't care about the kids. He doesn't care about the coaching staff. He cares about winning. And now you're looking at a guy in Ryan Day, the offensive coordinator, who is now the interim head coach, going to probably coach Ohio State this season because, heaven forbid, you're not going to be able to find somebody to coach them right now unless you're able to get somebody that's without a job like a Bob Stoops. Why would Bob Stoops walk into that mess right now?
Right. Well, I can't believe that they didn't name Greg Schiano as the interim because he's got head coaching experience.
Well, Tennessee fans are enjoying that on Twitter because clearly Ohio State has no faith in him either as a human being, because you can't put a guy who was on that staff with Joe Paterno and Sandusky.
Can you imagine the PR fiasco that would happen if they would have named him as the interim there at Columbus?
If they did, then you're going to see Ohio State fans do exactly what Tennessee fans did.
Right.
And
deservedly so.
Yeah. And so, Greg Schiano, it's interesting to see national media defending Greg Schiano in November, but now that he wasn't named, the interim coach, you hear crickets.
Yeah.
From these same national media types. I've had conversations with the USA Today reporter Dan Wolken, who is one of the staunch defenders of Greg Schiano. He ended up blocking me on Twitter today.
Wow.
But you got guys like that who defend him, and now when there's an opportunity for him at the same school he's already at and he doesn't get it over a guy who has no head coaching experience,
that's volumes.
Kind of funny to me.
Yeah. Well, don't forget to join this good guy right here, Nick LaFew, every Saturday morning from 8 to 10 with the Breakfast Blitz. And I'm sure you'll have more to discuss about this. And, of course, you got to get in a little bit of a word about UT football coming up. West Virginia is not that far away.
31 days away from today.
I know.
From kickoff of college football, first full day, Saturday, September 1st. It's going to be fun.
Yes, it will.
We're getting close.
All right. Thanks a lot, Nick. And that's going to do it for the Locker Room Show. I'm Sam Jordan. Keon Rose coming up with the clutch. Brian for CBS World and National News. We'll talk to you again tomorrow. Have a great evening.